All right. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Friday to you. Thinker St. James here alongside my good friend Chase Parton. And we are back for the free for all. This is a concept that we had done a little bit in the past, but wanted to bring back because there's a lot that goes on in this sport throughout the week that we don't get to talk about on our podcast. And we are here to do that right now. How are you, Chase?
Dude, I'm good. I actually think it's perfect that we have something like this set up because believe it or not, everybody who's out there, me and Thinker don't do a lot of talking during the week because we got to save it for the episode. Like, if we talk too much, we're going to spill the beans and we have to keep it all for you guys. So these are going to be really good to catch up on the things that we don't necessarily get to talk about too much. And I think it's
Yeah.
really good.
Absolutely. I mean, we talk in the Discord a whole bunch, and that's
Right.
where a lot of these things come from. Is that because on the show, on the podcast, we're talking about the fights, right? The whole concept of the podcast is last week's fights. We talk about every single fight from the previous event, contender series, all of that. But there is so much more to the culture of mixed martial arts. There's all of these random little small and interesting, crazy things. Some of them I try to cover on the channel in video form every once in a while. We'll talk about one of those a little bit later. But there's just a whole lot of interesting stuff that goes on throughout the course of the week. And it's just like, if we tried to cover every single one of them, we'd be on stream 24 hours a day. So, this is what this is for. And this is also a great opportunity for us to interact with you guys in the chat a little bit more because on last week's fights, we're not able, we got to keep the show moving. We got fights to talk about. We got breakdowns to do, but here we can be a little bit more hands-on with you guys. So in that vein, thank you very much for being here early to John Dong. And of course, Sarah Toby, the Queen. Appreciate you both. How are you doing out there? How's everybody
Absolutely.
doing?
For sure. Everybody in the chat, love you guys so much for sure. And I can't wait to get this going. This is going to be a really fun one, I'm telling you.
Well, let's start it off then. What is this here? We're talking about Alex Pereira, of course, and he's been doing a little bit of trolling, it would seem.
Yeah, so the first thing I wanted to bring to Thinker's attention, I don't know if he was keeping up too much with what was going on in the aftermath on Twitter, but Alex Bejeda is doing his good deal of trolling, and it is honestly top tier. I mean, when it comes to AI, I know you guys are probably witnessing what it's doing, but look at the thing that's on the screen right now. I mean, you can't get it better than this. I've seen one where he pulls out a blanket and goes to sleep in the cage and Alex walks off. I mean, this dude is really, he's going after him. And it's playful, it's funny, but like Ankh asked for it. He was doing his good amount of shit talking. Maybe it was Ali Abdelaziz, but who knows? I think this is warranted.
Well, and this is really, I think, the bigger issue with it. It's like Poatan now, we know that Alex Pereira is petty, right? I mean,
Yes.
he is in the UFC because he is petty. If you really go break it down, I mean, there's a tweet that had gone out right after the victory. Basically, it was that image of Israel Adesanya from that interview that he had done that basically sparked all of this. And I was like, it is crazy to think about that one interview essentially brought Pereira into the UFC and everything has happened based on that. So we know he is petty from that side of things. Now, also, the other part of it is Ali Abdelaziz, because everybody knows that he takes over these guys' Twitter accounts and does a whole lot of shit talking. And that really seems to have gotten Alex.
Yeah, no, and you are completely right. The pettiness, this guy is next level. And I really do enjoy, you know what I think is really funny? The funniest thing I think about Alex is that through osmosis, he absorbed a funny meme, if you guys really think about it. So every time, and Ankh's really in the situation, if people beat Alex, and he obviously comes back and wins, they're going to be that guy in the bar saying, I beat that guy one time, So fuck it.
You're going to have an entire bars worth of people all sitting together pointing at the same television saying that,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah,
I've seen those memes too of, Alex like at the head of the table and it's like all of his sons around him, you know.
yeah, yeah.
So
No,
yeah,
this is
no,
good.
this is. I think it's fine though. I mean, really, look, he's coming to it from an interesting position, right? Because this is one of the rare times. Like, of course, he got knocked out by Adesanya. Of course, he had the Adesanya, situation there. But this is one of those rare times where it was like Alex in a different form of himself. Like we know why now. Obviously, he was saying he was off his game, he was sick, all of those types of things. But it didn't look like Alex, and I think that aspect also plays into his mind of it, where it's like that was not me out there. So like now I really need to show you what the real Alex is, you know?
Yeah, I think the last thing that I want to say to wrap up, just a quick point that if you guys forgot, I want you to go back and watch Alex versus Izzy. That is the scariest version of Alex because he is just so determined to just kill this guy in the cage. And you kind of saw a glimpse of it again with Ankh here. And you didn't see it against Khalil because, again, he was going through some sicknesses and stuff. You guys got to remember, this guy he took so many short notice, title fights to just fill in these cards. And he was not 100% in a lot of them. And when he is, and he comes in ready to go, this dude's a true gunner. And he's one of the best. I'm telling you, this guy's awesome, man.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like you said, saving a whole bunch of events. Obviously, short notice on a bunch of them, and like you said, the real thing I think that plays into this as more than anything else is the fact that he is undefeated in rematches. In as a contender. So it's like he comes in with a point to prove, and he proves it, and then he continues to prove it online thereafter when you fuck with him, which is exactly what Ali Abdelaziz did. I don't know if you saw that one where he had tweeted like right after the fight where he's like, you get killed in the cage and your manager is out there, tweeting whatever. You know what I mean? It's like, he's out there with Twitter fingers and you're the one dying in the cage. It's an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, I definitely enjoy the guy who just never grows out of being petty. 38 years old and he's coming for blood. You better best believe you fuck with him and you're getting the left hook, man. I don't know. It's history. That's just how it goes, man.
I just want to know how long it lasts. I want to know how long he keeps this going against Ankalaev specifically, because like Ankalaev has been taking a shit ton of this online from everybody. I mean, it's not just Alex Pereira, but the entire community. It's like no one liked this guy apparently. So like now everybody's just dogpiling on him way more than I think a lot of champs,
Yeah.
get.
Yeah, 100%. But I think that's all I want to bring up here with Alex and Ankh. It definitely was a fun fight. So
True.
30 seconds or whatever it was, good deal. So
Indeed.
the next thing that I think that is important to talk about, that is crucial to bring up, because it couldn't wait until Monday, which I don't know if you guys know. If you are in the chat right now and you did not know that on Mondays we are doing reviews of the fights from the Saturday before and going over the fights for the Saturday coming after. But specifically, Tuesdays are what we talk about during the summertime, and Contender Series on Monday, when it comes to this portion, is going to rip. But I want to specifically tell you that this fight that I'm going to show you a little glimpse of was one of the greatest Dana White Contender Series matchups that you have ever laid eyes on. And if you haven't seen it, it's on YouTube right now. Go ahead and check it out. Look at this tweet right here from MMA Orbit. Shout out them.
Absolutely. And, yeah, this is Martinetti versus Vologden. And even without seeing the tweet, I certainly can remember those names because of the quality of this fight. You go back, like you said, we do the watch alongs for these. And on Contender Series, I've always said in Contender Series, like the chat vibe is a little bit different. I usually come on a little bit early for those. We kind of have a nice conversation about that. And I'm back and forth a little bit because a lot of times we're seeing guys get knocked out really quickly, or we're seeing somewhat boring fights. I mean, like it's a little bit more of like a grab bag. So I kind of treat it with a little bit looser. You know what I mean? This fight, if you go back and watch the watch along replay, the VOD, I'm like, guys, I will get to the chat like in a minute, but we're gonna have to get through the round first because this is like must see television here, and it was insanity.
Yeah, no, this one was really good. The first round was just damn near a classic. I mean, I can't tell you how many knees Vologden absorbed to his body, how many elbows chipped away at his skull. This dude really just had no quit. And what's crazy is he's a really muscular, buff guy for the weight class, as presumably going to gas out, and he looked like he was going to. But the thing is gas tank don't matter when you got really big heart. This guy really wanted to win this fucking fight, and not even just win. He wanted to prove that he's an exciting fighter, and I think even in the aftermath, these guys, they took pictures together. Like they seem like they're really cool. Like they understood the assignment. Like we're here to put on a fucking banger. And in my opinion, at the time, I really did not want to see this fight continue with that big old hole in his head because from what our boy Martinetti was doing, if he continued to do it, which I think he switched up the game plan just a little bit after he had already destroyed this dude's face with elbows. I mean, he did not go back to eviscerating his face anymore. I mean, it was more or less just throw it out the window. Like I'm not gonna win this way, and I've already cut him, but I don't want the fight to like necessarily. I don't know. It kind of felt like he didn't want to literally rip his face in half. So
I mean, either that or he was just exhausted because both
true.
of these guys, I mean, they put, like you said, understanding the assignment is the definition of this fight. These guys came out here to scrap, and that's exactly what they did. And so, you get into the third round after both of them not walking forward the entire fight. But it was like the unstoppable object and the unmovable force kind of
Yes.
thing. It was these guys really putting it all on the line. So by round three, it was like, even if you still wanted to do that, it's very understandable, especially the fact that they're both on the Contender Series. These are guys early on in their career. So to be that level of intense with your fight, there's for all of those factors, it makes sense that by round three, they were kind of like, look, we need to get to the ground a little bit, we
Okay.
need to take a little
We got,
breather.
we got to save a lot because we're going to talk about it on Monday.
Right.
Everybody, we can't get too much into the actual fight itself. We will definitely go more into it on Monday. But the specific part that we are going to talk about and why it is one of the greatest and why people like Dana White, they know ball. They know what they're seeing and they know how to respect a good performance. So what Dana White was able to do, and which genuinely you don't see this. I can tell you one other time I've seen Dana White get up out of his seat and walk backstage. I've seen it one other time, and it was Angel Pacheco versus Danny Silva. If you guys are familiar with this fight, it's one of my favorites on Contender Series because it is two dudes again who just don't give a shit. They are going to fight to get a contract. And Dana White, specifically in that fight, went back there, shook their hands and told them, like, you're in. Like, I don't care if you lost, Angel. Angel, listen, I love Angel Pacheco. I'm going to talk about this guy every chance I get. The dude was back there crying that he thought he wasn't going to get a contract after putting on, before this, the greatest Dana White Contender Series matchup of all time. Like, it just shows you, like, how bad some of these people want it. Like, and they, some people understand the assignment that they got to put on a performance, but some people, they understand it so much, but they want more than just that. Like, and so this one was another one where I think these guys, they wanted more than just a really hard nosed fight. They both wanted to win so bad. So Dana White comes on after, tells them, these guys are headed to the hospital, which, funny enough, only one of them really needed to go to the hospital. I think. I think the other guy was probably fine. I think Martinetti was good enough to
Yeah.
walk around after. But funny enough, they both go to the hospital and they both get awarded $25,000 on top of it. What a fucking score. I'm not going to lie. And well deserved, because when you see stuff like that, guys, it makes you know, like, Dana really does know his shit, and he's going to get the guy that you want, the guy that you guys cheer for. He's gonna get them where they need to be. If they need an extra 25,000, even if they don't, if you guys cheer for that motherfucker, all right, fuck it, give it to him. Give it to him.
Yeah, constantly, week after week, I am saying on the watch alongs for the Contender Series that I've got plenty of criticisms of the organization and of Dana, but when it comes to how he operates on the Contender Series, I 9 times out of 10 am in line with him in lockstep, and this is no different. The 25,000 in instant contracts for both guys, perfect move on this one, absolutely deserved.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's really all that needs to be said about this. Until Monday, of course, we're going to
Right.
go a little bit more into it. But just another thing, it's on YouTube. Everybody, once again, make sure to go watch this fight. The UFC doesn't put random fights on YouTube. Sometimes they do, but they don't normally do. When it is put on YouTube for free, literally a day after, hours after, they know, like, this is going to make them buku cash on ad revenue. So just make sure you go ahead and get that money for them, because I'm
Yeah.
sure we're going to keep raking in the dough with them.
Right, especially Contender Series fights. I mean, it's very rare that you're going to be seeing that. So obviously, that should tell you something. Really, I think that's the bigger catalyst for them was that it's like it's kind of crazy that this happened on the Contender Series. We need to show it to more people because it's that quality level. So
Yes.
yeah, definitely.
All right.
Shout out to TJF, Sigma, and of course Beeb, the
Beeb
big winner.
with the $200. I wanted to give Beeb a shout out for his 200. TJF, literally the fucking man. Also love him. And Sigma, didn't even see you in the chat, but I know you're out there lurking. Shout out you. So the next thing that we
Absolutely.
want to go into here, the next thing is really funny, and I'm surprised that you haven't. Again, I know you're not on Twitter too much, catching all these innuendos. But the funny thing about about the John Pork thing, I know you don't know what this is.
All right, so let me at least say,
Yes, go
so
ahead.
we saw John Dong in the chat earlier, and so I believe it was actually Sigma, a couple of the guys who were hanging out. I had seen Sigma put John Pork in the chat, and I thought he was making a reference to John Dong. You can infer why I made that connection. However, now I see it in our notes for this stream, and I'm like, what am I missing here? So clue me in here, Chase. Catch me up to speed.
So I can tell you, it's not much for me to clue you into. This is one of the few. There's a couple that we have to watch a little video on. I think this is maybe one of the only ones, but I want you to watch a little video, and you will completely understand who John Pork is.
All right. Well,
So this also, and actually, I want to preface this comes, and just so you understand, this comes in line with the Contender Series. That's why I actually bumped it up on the list last minute, because this happened on Tuesday. This is a fighter from Tuesday. So you'll
all right. Well, switch it over because we're still looking at there.
Yes.
There you go. Perfect.
So you see our guy.
The people were commenting and a lot of John Pork on his Instagram.
I introduce my team. This guy, John Pork, 2 times world professional Muay Thai champion.
Oh.
So
No junk pork. Janko. No junk pork.
So anyway, I think that's all you really need to get. So Islam introduces him in a funny way as his teammate John Pork. I think it was calling him fat. I think that was the joke there. He eats, pork. But anyway.
Well, because I mean, pork is haram though.
Okay, so that's another thing that got brought up. North in the chat, shout out Dusty. He brought up, he was like, "This is so funny," but I really think he wants you guys to stop, because I think it's like disrespect to be called, like, he's called pork, but it's like bad. So he probably really wants you guys to stop. Toby, on the other hand, made a great point. We are definitely gonna stop now that you asked us to call you John Pork. Like, you did
for sure.
job.
Yeah, no, Streisand effect to the nth degree on something like that, dude. Yeah, you're gonna be called that for the rest of time now.
Yeah, so what another great thing about this is, so John Pork is not only just in name John Pork by Islam, he is this is a guy who's just standing on business when it comes down to it. I want you guys to be aware of this next video. It gets dicey, I'm telling you. So you got Nate Diaz, but guess who it is? We got our fucking.
The lore deepens.
You guys don't even know. There's just too much to know about John Pork, and he really is that guy. And we just saw him compete on Tuesday, and he got himself a contract. So who's next for John Pork? What is the deal, do you think?
I mean, look, if he's coming in off the Contender Series, getting a contract, I would think that he's, got to raise through the ranks a little bit. But I have heard a lot of people who have been asking for the Diaz return. So, I mean, could we see Nate Diaz versus John Pork in the future?
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, no, that one is absolutely hilarious. The fact that the lore is just, the rabbit hole is getting deeper for John Pork, and the fact that he's never going to be known as anything other than John Pork. I couldn't tell you what his actual name is, and I know a lot of people's names from different regions, but John Pork is one of the most infamous right now. So
well, I have to say that not knowing about the John Pork deal here, I very much appreciate being able to learn about this on stream, because this is definitely something that is very funny to me. And yeah, I love it.
I think right now is a perfect time for me to let the chat know is this is the perfect reason why this show is needing to exist right now, is because during the week we have to tell you guys all of the John Pork information. And if you don't get it, you're not going to get these laughs. And Thinker is going to let them go over his head. And I'll have to bring it up on Tuesday. And that takes another 2 hours out of our day for me to explain the John Pork thing. So now we got it out the way. We got to have a nice little laugh. So everybody, appreciate you for being here.
It's very important. It's very important that I know about these things. You know, this is the stuff that comes seeping in through the chat that like I, you know, it's like you got a wide net, but you can't catch every single fish, you know. So or pig in this case, obviously,
Yes.
you know. So I'm very glad that I am now hip to the John Pork lore. So thank you for that.
100%. Well, I know we just had a good laugh. Everybody, if you're here right now and you had a good laugh, make sure to like and subscribe, because we
Absolutely.
unfortunately have to get a little dreary for a second. And it's just because, not everything in this world is rainbows and sunshine. Sometimes there are just things that happen. And in this case, with this next story, it appears this was an accident that happened.
Yeah,
So
this is a sad case here. So yeah, Tyler Wiley, who better known in the MMA world as Tila Tooley, unfortunately passed away, and the circumstances surrounding it are really the more shocking element of this. To an extent, I would say. I mean, he was still always a big man. I mean, back in you see him on screen here if you're watching. Back in his competing days, he was a very large man. Did not win his fight at UFC 2, I believe he was competing. Oh no, actually, he was in the first UFC. He was in UFC 1.
says it right there.
Indeed. So, yeah, he did not win his fight there, but, kind of a figure that is well known in the sport just because of his stature. He went on to become an actor of television and film. And, do you want to break down a little bit about what actually happened to him here, Chase?
I honestly didn't get to read too much into it, because when it comes to these type of stories, listen, I'll read the headline and I'll take a good little note like, wow, crazy things happen in this world, but I don't go diving too much into the sadness of what is actually going on in a
Sure,
lot of these situations.
that's more of my my task, I guess you could say. Well, what happened here is that I don't know what the inciting incident was, because there is
Why
a
the medical transport
correct.
needed to be there. Okay.
Exactly. I don't know exactly what was causing that, but for some reason, Thule was being was being put into an ambulance. I guess that they had called an ambulance for some type of medical incident that he was having, and as he was being loaded into the ambulance, the platform that they were using as a ramp to to get him into the vehicle gave out in some way, and he spilled out onto the street, and unfortunately he hit his head, and it was just complications based on that impact that eventually took his life. So very strange, but I say that knowing full well that he was a very large man, so obviously some of the weight issues might have contributed to the collapse of the platform. There are extenuating circumstances, to be sure, but negligence is being alleged by his family, and we're going to have to see what comes from that, if anything.
Yeah, this one's definitely sucks. I mean, we don't get to hear too much about a lot of these older, UFC guys, the quote unquote pioneers. Mark Kerr, he gets a movie made about him, but this guy competed in UFC 1, and all we get to hear about is how he unfortunately passed away during some crazy incident kind of deal. There's a lot of people that just go underneath the rug, and I think if we were to do justice to the sport as of right now, and we understand that sports science has come a lot further, and we can take care of the fighters a little better outside and inside the cage, we should probably look back and try to help a lot of the fighters that were here before him, because we didn't have the technology or the rehabilitation type deals to be best for fighters back then. And I think a lot of these guys might be having issues the same way. I don't know. Like when you see a lot of these older fighters, Chuck Liddell, Rich Franklin, Hughes, even Mark Kerr, and then Coleman, we could be doing better, I think, is all that I'm saying.
Well, look, and I don't want to hijack this with another rehashing of this sentiment, because I have said it very vocally several times, but these are the exact type of situations where I say there needs to be a union for these fighters. Now, this is a thing that has been coming up in several lawsuits. This is been blocked in several instances, but mixed martial arts, especially at the highest level with the UFC, is the only major sport in the United States without a union representing their talent. this is exactly what unions are for, is for the betterment of the fighters post their career, the betterment for them when it comes to insurance and those types of things, making sure that their contracts are fairly negotiated. You can, a lot of fighters have different versions of how they feel about that specific aspect. But when it comes to this, medical specifically, that is where I think the biggest issue for the unionization, the biggest pro of it would be. The major issue for a lot of these guys is that, when it comes to the fight game in general, we were just talking about this, you and I, on the podcast, when it came to Vanderlei Silva and Frankie Edgar, who didn't end up competing but was going to in bare knuckle. A lot of these guys are not equipped post their career to transition smoothly out of the sport. A lot of that comes from the fact that they are paying for their treatment thereafter. I mean, like, once those checks stop coming in, it's not like their body decides that, oh, well, the money's not coming in from fighting, I guess I'm just going to be better. That's not how this works. So I think that issues like this really do highlight the need for representation. And if the UFC wanted to modernize in a real way, especially now with $7.7 billion in their coffer from the Paramount deal, it would be the right thing to do. But that's, are they going to?
Yeah, so this one was definitely unfortunate to hear about. This is the one of three unfortunate stories that we're gonna have to get into real quick. The next two, I think, are, we maybe have a little less to say. I to be honest, I'm glad we had a little bit more to say than I thought about that situation. I'm glad about that one. So this next one, again, not the best one to hear about, but it is something that is interesting to note in the sphere. So we got this here, with his name was
Sumak Mokhtarian. Yeah.
Nice.
Suman. Suman Mokhtarian. I actually covered this story on the channel. This is, if you are interested in the details further than what we'll talk about here, there's an entire video on the channel about this incident and also the intersection of gang culture and mixed martial arts in the country of Australia, where Mokhtarian was from. But yeah, this is just another really tragic case. I mean, and before we get too deep, I did want to say, rest in peace to Tila Tuli. I mean, that's
Yes.
obviously a huge loss. And our thoughts are with his family. Same here. Suman Mokhtarian was a veteran of the UFC. He was 0-2 in the organization, so didn't fare very well as a fighter, but he went on to become a trainer. He is the co-founder of Australian Top Team with his brother, Ashkan, who's also an 0-2 fighter. So neither of the brothers really had like a tremendous career in the UFC, but they went on to found Australian Top Team and apparently were caught up in the gang life in Australia, and it seems to have caught up with Suman here.
Yeah, this one's unfortunate. I've heard a lot of different stories and different things and conspiracies about, the gangs and what's going on in this region of the world. And it sucks to hear that it's so rampant. I mean, I know all the regions have their own issues when it comes to gangs and crimes and things like that. But it's unfortunate when, you can't really say it's like, well, we keep it to a minimum, like there's not really a brighter side to it. It's like, yeah, we just got gangs that just be killing people out here. Like that it sucks to hear. And when they get people who are like doing things for the community, like, building, or getting a camp and, creating a team in Australia or Sydney, and then the locals, or not the locals, but anybody who had something against this guy is taking that away from not just him but the community, his family, all the things that he was there to provide and help people with. Now they don't have the assistance, so that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, well, it's true. I mean, one thing that I did not mention in my video was the tributes that were pouring in for him from his students and his teammates. He had a lot of support. Australian Top Team, not necessarily the largest organization in MMA in the country, but still a thriving one nonetheless. And he leaves behind an entire team of up and coming fighters and his peers that he coached with. That's a void that is not going to be easily filled, especially as a co-owner of the gym, on top of being a coach himself. So it's very tragic, and the gang aspect of it, having done the research on it for the video, it raises a lot of concerns about the ability of local law enforcement in the area to handle these kinds of things, because it's not just for context. Again, watch the video if you want the full story of everything. But for context here, Suman Mokhtarian apparently was a member of an ethnically based gang. So this is a gang that was, I believe he is Armenian. Don't quote me on that one, but from what I had heard, that there are certain ethnically based gangs that kind of circle around their ethnic roots, and then there are also biker gangs that are formed around their shared interest in motorcycles. So it's like you have multiple different types of organized crime in the country, and the widespreadness of that, the proliferation of it, so to speak, in the country is as such that it doesn't seem like the local law enforcement is necessarily equipped to handle the depth of the problem. Because there was another case that I covered in that video where the officer that's quoted in the article is basically saying, like, it's going to get worse. Like, he literally just comes out and says, he's like this is going to increase. It was an attempted assassination that did not succeed in that instance, but this is before this happened. So this is the worst. And and theoretically, if this is what, this is multiple times that Suman Mokhtarian had his life threatened, and finally it was taken. It stands to reason that there could be further instances coming down the pike, and it's questionable whether law enforcement is going to be able to put a dent in that.
Yeah, this one sucks to hear. A loss is always is always horrible, but we another alum for the UFC that gets taken too soon, which is unfortunate. And again, there should be protocols set before they get out of the UFC, and before they end up in these situations where they don't have to be affiliated with gangs. I guess I don't know, or whether it was affiliation with them, or in retaliation to them. Whatever the case may be, it's always unfortunate. So definitely rest in peace for Suman.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, I very, very much hope that the other people involved with Australian Top Team are keeping themselves safe, because the incident that I referenced there from that other article where the officer said it was going to get worse, that the person that was targeted in that was a student at Australian Top Team. So I mean, it would seem, at least, if you're connecting the dots, that there might be some deeper involvement with Australian Top Team. And I'm very much hoping that the remaining members of that gym are keeping themselves well away from this culture if they can. Because I mean, what it would seem to a lot of people is that Suman, he talked in his pre-fight packages about being on the wrong path, mixed martial arts being the thing that was taking him out of it, and somehow he still ended up a target here. So even when you think you're out when it comes to this gang lifestyle, it doesn't always equal up to that. So like you said, really the best thing to do is to steer clear of it completely. But if you're in it in some way, I mean, I don't, leave the country, I guess, is really the best thing you can do. But like, all I'm saying is that I hope for the best for everybody who's possibly involved.
Yeah, for sure. And so that one, another unfortunate one that we had to hear about. This one is unfortunate, absolutely. It is also probably the more mysterious one on the list for that we have. This was a boxer at 17 years old. Arturo Gotti Jr. passed away after being found hanging in an apartment in Mexico, is what it says. And what the mysterious thing about this is that his father apparently had also been found hanging in an apartment, but this was in Brazil, is what the father was found. So I don't know what is going on here. Again, didn't want to read too far into it, because I am just a shill for conspiracies, and I could make something anything if I really wanted to. And I didn't want to, that's disrespectful, especially when it's real situations like, this, and when it's something that is kind of just not really cool to, dive too much into and do your own, I don't know. So
No, I know what you mean. This type of situation does lend itself to that thought process, definitely. Though, I mean, it's a little bit too on the nose to think that you'd have the exact same situation, the exact same method, without there being some type of conspiratorial aspect to it. But I mean, again, this is one that I honestly don't have all that much that I can really offer to it. In addition to that, because of the exact same reasons, it's hard to It's, I don't think anybody can truly know the details just from reporting it. So it's, what we know as the public is very limited, but the details that we do know are rather disturbing in that regard. You have the father in a a situation in Brazil. You have the son in the exact same type of situation in Mexico. I mean, again, how many dots do you need to connect before there becomes a deeper puzzle here? It's hard. It's hard to keep yourself away from that sort of line of questioning and thinking.
Yeah, 100%. And there's not really much more I wanted to touch on. This was a boxer, of course. This wasn't anybody who had any affiliation with the UFC or anything like that, but it is a martial artist in a sense. So I wanted to go ahead and touch on this. And go ahead.
I was just going to say, in a 17-year-old.
Yeah,
I mean, such senselessness. I mean, regardless of how this happened. Now, obviously, it would seem, at least based on what we know of it, that foul play was probably involved. That would be my gut instinct, as Chase said here. I don't want to go too deep into speculation on it, but for that to happen, regardless, foul play or otherwise, to a 17-year-old just starting out, A, in his life, and B, in combat sports, obviously very tragic.
Yeah, 100%. But that is the last one that is going to be bringing us down today. Everybody, if you are still hanging with us in the chat and you were able to, have that moment with us, and obviously respect everybody who had passed during this week or, over the time that we did not get to speak about it, I would like everybody to, once again, make sure to leave a like, make sure to leave a comment real quick, because we are going to get into the fun stuff now. This one is absolutely fun.
Well, before you do that, real quick, let me, because we didn't get to shout him out earlier, shout out to the homie Hydra. Always checking in. Appreciate you, Hydra, so much. Shout out to Canada. Fine country that is. But saying that, pulling up outside of a building for illegally fighting just to try and shoot someone you have beef with is so cowardly. These gangs, this is in reference to the Suman Mokhtarian incident. And these gangs don't operate with a code of ethics. That should be understood. You think the gangs like to pretend that there's this like honor amongst thieves type of mentality. Oh, we have ranks. We have, we have a structure, we got colors, we got this kind of stuff and this and that. There is no honor in the gang lifestyle. So just, throw that out the window if you think that these people, you will talk about cowardice. None of these gang members that are out here shooting people and trying to pull off that kind of thing are going to have the stones to actually step into an octagon.
True. There goes a great point. Thinker is always keeping us on our toes. And I think Hydra, he actually made a great point. We have just ingested our vegetables. It is time for dessert, everybody, because
Let's get into it.
This is the funny one. This is the funny times, because this one is maybe the funniest one that I think.
Funnier than John Pork.
Okay, not funnier than John Pork, everybody, but this is pretty funny. It has been confirmed that Conor McGregor has been suspended back since whatever the fuck it was. I don't know.
Yes, so. Conor not popping though, not popping. So this is the interesting thing about it, right?
Okay. He just never told him where he was at.
This didn't show up. Hey, Conor, be here this day. Oh, you meant Tuesday? I thought you said Wednesday.
He's still doing that, by the way. Ariel was supposed to have him on the show, and then he went on like a news broadcast like the same day. So that was pretty funny.
So basically the long and the short of this is that Conor did not show up to the designated time and locations for the mandatory quote unquote random screenings, but drug screenings, that drug-free sport, formerly USADA, now it's drug-free sport with the UFC. They give you a time and a place that you're going to be tested. You have to show up. If you don't show up, that's a violation. And Conor missed not one, not two, but three of those. So that is his violation. The interesting part of it, though, is that everyone's saying, 18-month suspension, 18 months. Conor's out for 18 months. He got retroacted to when this happened in 2024. He's going to be eligible to fight in March of this year. So he is still going to be on the White House card. This impacts next to nothing. It's not what you think Conor was going to fight before the White House card. Give me a break. This is essentially a slap on the wrist, like it was going to be. Come on.
Right. He had to take his punishment before he could actually come back to the cage, like whether it is true if he was roiding up this entire time. I mean, he missed his fucking appointments. Presumably he wasn't going to actually come back. Like I'm not going to go do my test. I don't really give a shit. I'll keep stringing him along. Of course, like there's obviously a big fight out there that I could take, but I'm not actually going to do the drug test or do anything you guys want me to. I'm doing my own business. And then he hears the White House and he's like, Now let's get back in that. But all right, I'll take
Of
my 18
course.
suspensions. Go back 18 months. Give it to me.
So, I
So
mean, I guess you kind of answered the question then, because I wanted to pop this up. Hydra saying the little leprechaun is never fighting again. I mean, this is the $1 million question that everybody has been asking since the Michael Chandler fallout last year, right? I mean, that was earlier last year, so a while back. But do you think he's actually going to show? I mean, is he going to be at the White House card? Dana was saying, I only want reliable people on the White House card, and who is more reliable than Conor McGregor?
yeah, true. I think this one is definitely sketchy. The fact that they're even making it seem possible, pretty funny. But I'm we'll just see what has to happen. I think this one's just pretty funny that he actually finally got something done to him. I mean, he had to, whether Dana had to, like, formality thing, like, well, we got to Connor, or whether he actually was like, no, you're gonna take your fucking suspension. Whatever it was, I think it's just funny that finally something happens to one of the golden child. So
Yeah, well, that's the interesting thing about the relationship between drug-free sport and the UFC. So, just another thing that I did a video about, actually, if you're interested in that, it's one of my favorite things that I've done on the channel, is the video about the breakup between USADA and the UFC. So, basically, before drug-free sport took over, before USADA left, USADA was an independent testing body. So the UFC and anyone else that is involved with USADA really has no say on how that program is operated. They are at the will of the organization of USADA, and USADA decides who gets tested when. They create the program, they enforce the program, they enforce the suspensions of the program. All of that falls on USADA. Since drug-free sport has taken over, drug-free sport is under the employ of the UFC. So you can say, oh, well, they're an independent organization. They operate they operate similar to USADA. Well, you can say that. However, they are still employees of the UFC to an extent, because the UFC is the one that partners with them for keeping the sport clean. In fact, George Piro, who is the UFC's top dog when it comes to rules and regulations surrounding drug-free sport, that's a person that was put into that position before drug-free sport was even fully onboarded. So you decide how like you feel, because what made me say all of that is you said, oh, if Dana was the one that said, oh, we got to slap Connor on the wrist. It's like back when USADA was in power, then that would never have even come into the equation. But now with drug-free sport, it's a little bit more questionable as to how the enforcement of these types of demerits are divvied out.
right, no, 100%. I mean, they could have just completely made up 3 dates and been like, well, because I mean, it is coincidental that it's just amount of months that he can return for the White House card,
Right.
so they could have just made up whatever fucking dates to make it seem possible. Who cares? I think it is just funny that finally something has happened.
And I'm to me the how ironic that it's not actually doping itself that was the thing, when we know he was fucking juicing when he was after the ankle break.
Yeah.
I mean, like, there is no two ways about it. He was a tank, and his nose had ballooned up to the size of an avocado. So I mean, like, we all saw what we saw, but it wasn't that actually got him popped. It was him gallivanting around the planet, not showing up for tests.
Yeah, really, really funny. And so, speaking of testing and all of these people that just can't seem to just be on their shit, we got something interesting for this week. We had a fight pull out with Mr. Muhammad Usman and Walter Walker. Come to find out, Muhammad Usman is fucking taking testosterone, like extra shit. I don't fucking know, bro. Dude's on roids, and I can't believe it.
Let me tell you how shocked I am that Muhammad Usman is juicing. I mean, when I rolled out of bed, I opened my phone and I saw that, I just wanted to turn right back around and roll over again and fall back asleep. Like, it was like my entire world had been rocked with this, out of left field information that Muhammad Usman, of all people, a guy who is carrying more weight on his frame due to muscle than possibly anyone in the heavyweight division, is enhancing that with performance enhancing drugs. Chase, I was shocked.
Yeah, you probably should be. It's always the likely story that the brother who's not very good or the athlete who's not very good is just taking roids and then is still just not very good. But the main thing that I want to bring up is that I had a goddamn bet with Mr. Hamdi and it took an L because Mr. fucking Muhammad Usman's on roids here. Where's my no contest and or where's my voided transaction back to my DK wallet? This is
Yeah.
what I'm talking about.
You make a good point here. I mean, you also brought up a point in the Discord that I think is actually pretty salient, which is it really raises concerns now. I mean, everybody had back when Kamaru was on top of the world, Kamaru Juice Man, I mean, all of the Marty Juice Man was a big rumor there. And it's like, we had just talked about Yana Santos and, Thiago Poppin, how close to home that hits. The brothers are pretty close, man. You see Kamaru in the corner every time that Mo fights. I'm just saying. I'm not saying that it's necessarily true, but the closer that you get, the more it feels like maybe there's something there.
If you want a good representation of how I think this went down, we have a good review on our YouTube channels for a TV show called The Cage. It is a TV show on Netflix where there is a guy in a locker room right next to his buddy just shooting roids up, and that's basically how I think Kamaru Usman was walking into Muhammad Usman taking his roids and said nothing about it. Actually, probably hit him with the, "Whoa, dude, what are you doing?" Just like we saw on the show. It probably went down
True.
just like that. So check out that video.
Absolutely.
But yeah, no, this one didn't surprise me. Very, very funny though. Unfortunately, in this era of sports gambling, we legit lose money, but then we find out we shouldn't and we don't get recompensated. Where's the laws? Where is the class action that's going to happen here soon? Because I need some reimbursement.
I mean, that there might be something to that. Honestly, there might be. That's not out of the question for something like that to happen at some point. Where you're making a good point. It's like, look, we are expecting as fans that you, as the organization, are doing your job in keeping this sport fair. So I put my money down with an understanding that this is going to be a fair competition. If you are not presenting me with a fair competition, that throws the entirety of our transaction into question now. So I think that you're actually onto something there, Chase. Maybe this could be something that you spearhead, and maybe when you get that cash, you toss a little bit your boy Thinker's way. Maybe.
Dude, you're gonna get me reimbursed too. This is gonna be sports book wide. I'm telling you, like this is just ridiculous. The fact that they go back, dude, we had a fight where this dude loses, and then they could be like, "Well, he failed it a couple months ago, so he's suspended now." And it's like to everybody who has questions, it's like, "Well, no, we suspended him." It's like, "Well, that's not what I give a shit about. I don't care about him getting suspended. I want my fucking money back, dude. Like, what are you talking about?"
I really think that you're cooking hard with this one, Chase, because I mean, like, this is something that I could certainly see a class action going forward with in the future of people saying exactly this. Like, you sue the UFC specifically to say, you are the ones that, especially now with drug-free sport, all of what I just said, it plays right into this. When USADA was involved, it'd be like, oh, well, that's USADA. You can sue USADA if you want, but like we as the organization, we don't have any control over that. Well, now you do. So it's like this is all on you. I am putting money down with all of this sports betting. Like you said, you're seeing ads for it everywhere now. I mean, I cannot open YouTube without getting hit with the Hard Rock bets in Florida or DraftKings or whatever it is. I mean, so it's like you're the ones that are pushing this gambling on the populace here. You want us to gamble, then we need to have fair sport. If you are not providing fair sport to us, then you're not holding up your end of the bargain.
Yeah, 100%. I think that is something crucial that I'm glad I got to speak my mind about right there. I never really put two thoughts into it, but dude, as I say it a lot, like that makes me mad, man. Like had Goozy went out here and starched Jonathan Denise and then pops 2 weeks later for being just a roid monster on short notice. It's like who actually like we just lost twice. It's not only that I get to see the dude get flatlined by a dude who's cheating. I also get to know that I'm just never like I was destined to just lose. Like they literally they had the bookings against me. So
Sure.
it's crazy.
And that reminds me of the situation with Mark Hunt years ago now, where Mark Hunt fought Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar gets popped after the fact for juicing. Mark Hunt ended up suing the UFC, and I really truly do believe that it's just a matter of resources that he didn't end up winning that case. I think it was because the UFC has so much money, and in this country, you don't have to go into too deep about the injustices of our justice system, but that if you don't have the resources financially, the guy with the bigger pockets is going to win. So, I mean, I really do believe that could have been a landmark case had Mark Hunt actually won that, because that's exactly what his point was. You booked me for a fight that was supposed to be a fair fight. He's juicing. It's no longer a fair fight. I don't know how he lost that. It seemed open and shut to me, but anyway, it kind of harkens back to that idea.
During your point that you just made, you spoke of this country, and I'm glad you brought up this point, because this is the one thing that, again, makes me know that we are in a good place in America. Because this next point that we're bringing up here, right, guys? I know we talked about Muhammad Usman, but genuinely, I know we all don't really care anymore. So the next point that we all care about is Trump's birthday. We're getting the UFC card on his birthday.
Yo,
Guys,
yes.
Donald Trump is going to be 80 and watching UFC in a lawn chair with his feet in a cooler, drinking a fucking Corona or something. Like, it's going to be magical. This is going to be it. I know he's expecting us to feel this way, and I feel exactly just that. I feel that him putting it on its birthday lets us know, like, dude, he's the king. He's in charge. Like, he is the big boss man in the White House. He gets to do whatever he wants. Like, am I wrong?
No, not. I mean, I think that this was always designed exactly for this. This whole White House card was already a birthday gift to him, whether or not it was on his birthday or not. So, I mean, now it actually being on the day of his birthday, that's full circle. That seals the deal. I mean, the whole thing is it's such a ludicrous idea in and of itself to begin with, that of course it should be on his birthday. Top it off. That's the cherry on top of all of this.
You know what's actually funny is I didn't even actually catch this part of it. So his birthday's on a Sunday, so the card's going to be on a Sunday is what they're saying, which pretty funny. He just does whatever the fuck he wants, but also funny that Dana is like, oh, bow down to the king. Put it on a Sunday, guys. We'll do it on a Wednesday if we need to. Hell, if your birthday's on a fucking Tuesday, I don't give a shit. We're doing it. Fuck it. Contender Series off the fucking map. We got a card today, so I think that's funny.
Yeah, think about all these poor people, us included. I mean, we're the ones that are going to be watching this thing, and everybody having to make an excuse the next day. All these people who are going to it live and trying to figure out how they're going to talk to their bosses about, hey, I mean, I'm not going to be coming into work today. I'm a little sick. I don't know. Just a little bit of a cough. It's not because I was sitting on the White House lawn.
I think what we're gonna see, and listen, a lot of sports have been around longer, so I can't necessarily pinpoint the time that it was what it was. But when you come to the internet and social media, I can tell you that there's events for, say, the Super Bowl or the World Series or the NBA Finals where there's something memorable that goes on that people will always remember. So I can give you an example with the Super Bowl. I'm pretty sure uh was it Janet Jackson, maybe?
Sure.
Did a titty pop out?
Yes, it did.
Everybody remembers that was at the Super Bowl. Everybody's
go.
going to remember the UFC was at the White House. That's going to be for the rest of people's lives. Once this happens, people who know what the UFC, even if you don't know what the UFC, this is going to be the event that people just turn on the TV because the earth is at a standstill. Wow, something's happening at the White House. Donald Trump is doing something. Literally, we do that every time something small and minuscule happens. Like, bro, the fucking a baby hippo gets born at a zoo that's albino and people are going crazy over it on social media. When the White House has a UFC card, that is going to be the first solidified moment that people remember watching UFC with like their family, like around the dinner table. Like, hey, we turned on the TV that one day to watch the White House UFC card. Like, this is going to be monumental, and I'm glad that we get to be here for it.
No, I agree. I really do agree with that. I mean, this is going to be a spectacle unlike anything else. I mean, you've seen in this image on this graphic over here, you can see a little bit of the render that they've mocked up for what this event's going to look like in the structure of it. I mean, from a visual standpoint, besides the fighting, I mean, just from a gravitas standpoint, this is going to be such an over the top spectacle. And then, of course, you have the fighting after that. So, I mean, it really there really is nothing like this before, and it's hard to think that there's going to be anything quite like it again when it comes to mixed martial arts. But when it comes to the widespread nature of it, I mean, you and I, Chase, we're very familiar now with the Pride era and how Japan, the level of interest in mixed martial arts. They have stadiums filled for MMA events from back in the Pride era. This is, I think, possibly as close as we're going to get to that in the United States, at least until we see it at like sporting stadiums and that kind of thing, because this is going to be one of the biggest, if not the biggest MMA event of all time, I would say.
I want you to go ahead and put Hydra's comment on the screen right now. The latest one.
Yeah, let's see here. So Hydra says, I think Americans view of this is unique. Being outside the States, having a card at a government building itself is goofy as fuck, especially with the leader of the country commissioning it. Interesting.
This is what I want to say to what you're saying right now, Hydra. This is the reason you're saying it looks goofy is because you've never seen it done. Donald Trump wants to be the first, and he wants to set a precedent that world leaders are going to start taking martial arts serious again. Historically, martial arts was the beginning of time. People actually cared about it. It was sacred. Now we're getting back to the time where the government buildings, the leaders, the world leaders, the commissions, whatever you want to say, they are back to respecting martial arts, and there's going to be martial arts going on. UFC is going to happen at other governmental facilities. We talked about this in the stream when this actually got announced. What other options are there in the world to have a face-off or a ceremonial weigh-ins, or to specifically put a whole card on? We talked about the Great Wall of China could be one of them. Whatever you want to say. The Grand Canyon, go give it to us. I don't care. There's going to be something, anything. Put us in a mountain range. Anything you want. We're going to have it now because we saw the possibility that it could be done you can just on a whim, we can just do it for Donald Trump on the White House lawn. We could just have pop-up UFC events in any country here after this.
It just seems, though, that even with that as an understanding, it's going to be very hard to top the White House. I mean, this really is like the center of the free world, It's kind of crazy.
That's the goal now. It's like Donald Trump, I mean, he set a high bar, but like now everybody's like, well, America had the UFC card at the White House. Like, what can we do? I mean, the UK is going to go put it in front of that big old ugly clock or something, So
damn, roasted. Yeah. But I'll tell you what it is. And, you heard it here first. The next one up, the only next one up that in my estimation will be possibly as big as this. I don't know how you do it logistically, but you figure it out. MMA in space. MMA in space. You do it on the International Space Station. We already got Russians up there. You put an octagon in the ISS. You have a fight in the International Space Station. If not that, then MMA on Mars. It's got to be on another planet.
I think you're obviously joking a little bit, which is kind of funny. But I think what is going to be the better one, and I think which is actually going to happen, because I'm a thinker, and obviously there's people out there who have these ideas and have money, right? I just have these ideas and I can just tell you about them. Somebody's going to hear it and they're going to think that's a really good idea. The next big thing for the UFC, if they really want an American UFC event like we're getting right here on the White House, we're going to get one on a barge that floats around New York City or something, or around the Statue of Liberty, something like that. We're going to get it on a boat of some sort. I think that is the next evolution here. And I think that's even possible. I mean, there's cruise ships all the time where they do stupid shit on there. Like, just fucking put a cage. Like, so whatever.
Yeah, I could see it. I mean, they'd have to have it like fully stabilized so they're not shifting and going, all over the place.
Nah, that's the fucking fun part. You think the White House lawn's perfectly level? It probably is, but
well, they're gonna have to spend $700,000 to replace the lawn, so I think they're gonna go in there and level the fuck out of it. But
nice.
Yeah, no, there are a lot of opportunities elsewhere, of course, but it like on this planet. Yeah, I was half joking with the space thing, but like, yes. Really, if you break it down, I mean, on this planet, it's like the White House it's not only just where it is, it's what it represents. I mean,
mate, you got to think about what you're saying right now. As an American sitting here saying the White House is just the world's fucking awesomeness, bro. This is the greatest thing on planet Earth. Like, come on, like there's people
I
out there,
mean,
there's castles.
I'm a patriot, brother.
Well, I get that, but like you got to have a better understanding. Like there's people from different regions. They think of their thing like the White House.
Okay, well, wait,
Just because it's a white fucking house and Donald Trump sits in it doesn't
no,
mean it's actually the best thing on planet Earth.
no, I get. Look, I
Right.
acknowledge that. That's fine. I get that. But so then, what's the other place for that though? Like, I mean, okay, like I can think of maybe like that in China. We talked about the Great Wall, but in China they have that walled off city. I think is where like it was like one of their like original heads of state area, like for back in the feudal times. So like maybe something like that would be of the caliber of that. Maybe at the pyramids. I would say, like, actually, Hydra also bringing up another good point here, saying UFC in front of the UNESCO World Heritage sites like Street Fighter. Not too far off, really. What the Hanging Gardens of Babylon? I mean, like, what other places? Because, like I'm saying, yes, I get that I'm looking at it from the American perspective with that. But tell me another thing that has the same level of significance, even in other like do other countries have their like put the same emphasis on theirs?
But it's I think they do, but we just don't have the better understanding from their point of view. Like when we think of the White House because the entire time that we've grown up, we know that's where the president is. That's where the leader of America is. But if we grew up and we knew what Kim Jong Un's house fucking was called, I'm sure they'd be like, we should definitely have UFC right outside his fucking house,
But
bro.
the difference is that we grew up knowing that, but the rest of the world also does. And that's one of the things I think is craziest about international politics in general is that, Hydra's in Canada. He knows all of this stuff as well. Like, I mean, like everybody from all over the world has eyes on the United States always.
I
So
but I think you're also again, I think you're giving America a little too much credit. Like, bro, the fucking world loves us. They want to learn so much about us. I think they just learn more about geography and the world than Americans do
I
about
know. I
other
don't think it's.
places.
Yeah, I don't think it's because they love us. I think it's because they have to because of the status of America. I mean, like, and I'm not saying that that's always going to be the case or is not evolving. Because yeah, I mean, there's again international politics wise, people are talking about the value of the dollar and how that's changing and like America's place in the world and all that. I get all of that. All I'm saying is, we're top dogs, brother. What are gonna? It is what it is. Y'all
I
keep
mean,
eyes on us. I couldn't tell. I was literally trying to make the joke about them doing it in Canada. I could not tell you what Canada's parliament building is called.
and that's fine. I get what you're saying. I get the point that you're making. But look, Hydra just came out with some cool Buckingham Palace, Sydney
Okay.
Opera House, the Forgotten City in Beijing.
That's the
You
one I was
know,
talking about, I think, is the Forgotten City, I
I
believe.
mean, you could even listen. You could just do it in different venues instead of just going to the T-Mobile Arena every time. Like, go do it in the Grand Ole Opry in fucking Tennessee or wherever that's at. Go do it at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame up in Northern Ohio. Like, go do smaller venued events like you're willing to do at the White House specifically for them. Put it on for like do like your little Apex cards, but do it in places where people are going to tune in and remember. Like, yo, the UFC was in the fucking blah 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 blah. Like
Sure. Oh yeah,
so.
well, and most definitely, and actually, to more on a more serious tip. I mean, a lot of this conversation is slightly jokey, but like on a more serious tip, we did have that boxing card in Times Square that was very close to, I think, Noche. I want to say it was earlier this year, but so. Similar point. I mean, if you can do a boxing event in the middle of an open air Times Square, one of the most populated areas in the United States, it'd absolutely be doing this in other monuments and things like that. That's why the Great Wall came up, because you can have that in plenty of
Niagara
places.
Falls could be another
Yeah,
one.
sure. I mean, and really, I would say, like you said, the Grand Canyon. There's plenty of. I think the pyramids is a great one. Imagine having a UFC card with the pyramids in the background and the Sphinx off to the side. That's pretty dope.
Yeah, there's like I said, there's 7 wonders of the world. I think a UFC card could be at one of each of them, and that would be monumental for all the regions of the world that those are in. So I think this is just it sparks more. Excuse me, it sparks more interest going forward. Once it happens, there's just more to think about. Like, what's next? Who's gonna try to one up Donald Trump? Who's gonna be the Chad world leader that wants to watch fights on a fucking lawn chair with a Corona? Like that's really what it comes down to.
Well, I love that as the concept, though. So, yeah, world leaders out there, if you are hanging out watching this stream, which I'm sure that you are, this is your call: is to you be the one to have the next card in your greatest monumental site. I mean, there's all kinds of opportunities around this planet with a lot of amazing things. Think about all of the beautiful architecture and great cultural enriched areas that we don't even know about because they're not as widely publicized. Like I'm sure that in like Southeast Asia, there's plenty. Like I mean, like all manner of places. Taj Mahal in India. I mean, once India starts becoming more of a factor in the sport, maybe there's a precedent for that. There are beautiful, wonderful cultural sites around this planet, and I would love to see people beating each other up at all of them.
I can't believe this is the last one that I'll bring up, and then we're going to move on. But I can't believe that we didn't even think about it. It's so easy. If they have a UFC card under the Eiffel Tower,
sure. Yeah, not a problem there. Yeah, absolutely. You get it on a nice little raised platform, or you do it on that lawn in front of the Eiffel Tower, and then the Eiffel Tower is right there in the background.
Listen, they did that for the Olympics. I don't know if you watched what they did for the Olympics. I'm pretty sure what they did is they built, maybe they didn't build them, but they had a lot of different venues for all the different sports, but they were all sectioned around the Eiffel Tower. So every shot that you're watching on TV had the Eiffel Tower in the background. Women's volleyball, sand volleyball with the Eiffel Tower in the background. I'm telling you guys, if you didn't catch it, you missed out. But either way.
Also, what I think you're saying is that the cage walked so that the Olympics could run.
There you go. Exactly. So everybody, if you're watching right now, once again, go ahead and check out the review for the cage. It was one of the experiences that happened in this world.
Well, because we're a little more freeform here, I got to say, everybody, again, yes, just to echo those sentiments, if you have a Netflix account, you got to go and watch the Cage series and then watch our reviews of the Cage, because we not only did we put a lot of effort into those, but we can't be the only people who watched this show, period, and have some discourse around it. So if this is your homework assignment, if you are hanging out, go watch the Cage, watch our reviews of it, get caught up with that, and you will be in the know, because we have been referencing this show in various ways throughout the entirety of our interactions thereafter. It's meme worthy. You just don't know it yet.
Yeah, 100%. And to answer your question, and then we're going to move on, the only other person that has watched the show, it was John Jones waiting to see his cameo. So
facts.
There's your spoiler for what you could expect to see in the show. Make sure you go ahead and watch that. So going for this next point, obviously, shout out Donald Trump. We'll go ahead and move on for him. We're going to get into
Didgeridoo Dave too. Checking in. Appreciate you, brother.
Hell yeah, Dave. Hell yeah, Dave. So going into this next point, this one is obviously we had to talk about because this is somebody important in UFC, and it matters when something like this happens. When ties get tied, when knots get tied or whatever, we have to learn all about people and what they do in their lives. So here, guys, if you were unaware, Sean Strickland got married, guys. I don't know if they did the whole tying the strings to the cans and then driving the dirt bike off the fucking mountain or whatever, but they did shoot some guns in their outfits. So here's this. 7 or something. Knowing she probably has her loadout on YouTube. But this video is absolutely crazy. Chris Curtis is not in any of the pictures, by the way, which I thought was interesting. Like, wouldn't you think he'd be at the wedding? But just random people, I guess. Maybe it's her family. I don't know. So he got married. I didn't know he had a girlfriend. Actually, I think I did, but who cares, to be fair? So
yeah, no, I mean, she's been around. She's been sticking by his side, so this does not surprise me that they finally tied the knot. I mean, look, what I would say about it is that if this woman is tying herself to Sean Strickland for the rest of her life, then she must have at least somewhat of the same type of mental makeup as he does. They say opposites attract, right? But I mean, what I would say is that that's maybe in certain instances, but underneath that, there has to be some common ground for the opposite elements of a personality to complement each other. So what I would say is that this woman, obviously, she's on the same wavelength as Sean in some respects. So, congratulations, I guess. If the two of them are happy, I just couldn't imagine tying myself to Sean Strickland for a lifetime.
And I'm not trying to put anything on anybody, but the thing that I think about with the situation, when you come to someone like Sean Strickland, yes, he is in character. That is what he's trying to make you believe, like that's how deranged he is in real life. But unfortunately, Sean Strickland is one of those people, like, if something does end up happening between them, well, it was written in the fucking stars that this dude was a fucking deranged lunatic. So he better be on his fucking A game. Is all that I'm saying. Like, you better be genuinely one of the nicest people ever to never slip up and get a little overzealous out of anger or impulse, whatever you want to say. You better be on the straight and narrow, because the moment something happens and you slip up, people are going to point to you shooting fucking guns with your wife right here. Like, dude, we obviously knew you were fucking crazy. Like, look at you right here, like every video.
I
So
guess you're right. I mean, that is the other side of publicly presenting the way that Sean Strickland does, right? I mean, you are I mean, I guess maybe to an extent intentionally, but unintentionally and inadvertently, perhaps putting a lot of focus on yourself. Sean Strickland is an influencer. He likes to pretend that he does not like influencers when he is one, which is a pretty hilarious kind of dichotomy there. Actually, shout out to ITP MMA, did a great video on this subject. But Sean Strickland goes out and he boxes Sneeko and all this and talks about how he hates influencers when all he does is tweet all day long. Well, what that does is that makes you a publicly facing individual more so than you already were. Now, all of your opinions are the focus, not only your actions in the cage. So that being said, you are drawing attention to yourself one way or another. So like you said, now you have to make sure that you are doubly on the straight and narrow when it comes to this type of situation, because the second that you slip up, the entire world is going to be like, gotcha.
yeah, see, and when I say that, like, the stories that I think about, like, if we go back to the Dark Side of the Cage, and you want to talk, actually, speaking of MMA media, we need to actually review Dark Side of the Cage. If you look at Dark Side of the Cage, when it came to that War Machine dude, it's like, yeah, when you look back, yeah, I mean, yeah, he lived up to all the fucking things that we thought that he was. Nobody just, couldn't really do anything about it until something actually happened, And then when you look back in hindsight 2020, it's like we should have seen it coming. So that's the only thing that I say about the situation. I know that's literally not what this post is about or anything, but that's the only thing that I think about with somebody like Sean Strickland, and you're willing to, put your life, you're tying your life to his for the rest of your life. In theory, that's what this is right here. So
Sure.
you're going to
Yeah.
be tied to the dude that potentially could be looked at as a fucking murderer if he does anything slightly wrong, whatever.
And I think one of the ironies here, I don't know this for sure, but I seem to remember hearing this a while back when they first started dating. I believe that this woman works as a mental health counselor. So just putting
Dating your
that,
therapist.
I mean, I don't know
She's
if
really good at her job.
I don't know if she's his therapist or if they have any involvement in that regard, but that I believe that is the type of work that she does. So, maybe she's one of those I can fix him kind of women.
Yeah, so if you've ever seen the movie Step Brothers, he got the therapist girl at the end of it, and that's basically what we're seeing right here, right before your eyes.
Bingo. There you go. So, I mean, congratulations to the happy couple, I suppose. But yeah, this is I mean, interesting deal. God, I can only imagine the children that they're going to have. That's going to be an interesting upbringing for
Yeah.
those kids.
Yeah, so we'll definitely see how this one ends up going. I'm really hoping we don't see the Sean Strickland has just got divorced, post here, a couple years after. But to be fair, would not be surprised. I'm not a big. I listen. Marriage is hard. I can't tell you that. Or I can tell you that marriage is not for everybody. Sean Strickland would not be the person that I would say is the marriage material, just because of the way he presents himself. But I would love to be surprised, and I think that is going back to what I'm saying. Like, you better just be extra, not what you come off, if you're really gonna be married to a really sweet looking woman.
Did you happen to catch Veronica Hardy talking about Sean Strickland training the female fighters? That's part of his court ordered public service stuff.
I didn't hear her talking about it now.
So I caught a clip of Veronica Hardy. She'd been asked about it, like in an interview, like what's it like training with Sean Strickland now that he's training women as part of his rehabilitation via the I guess NSAC or whatever. He's currently serving a suspension for shoving a person after an MMA fight that he was cornering at, and she basically said that it's like he likes to go around kind of being grumpy, but at the same time, underneath it, he's actually a really good coach. So I gotta possibly believe that what I've always thought about Sean Strickland, the reason I bring that up, what I've always thought about Sean Strickland is that a lot of his persona is performative. I believe that he has a certain type of person that he A, wants to be himself, and B, wants to like him. He has a certain archetype of the type of people that he gravitates towards and wants to impress.
Mhm.
And so I think that if you peel back the layers of Sean Strickland, which I actually was thinking about making an entire video about the psychology of Sean Strickland for this exact reasoning. I think that if you peel back the layers of Sean Strickland, that there's a much more leveled individual underneath it all. It's just clouded by a lot of performative aspects. So I say all of that to say, perhaps there's a more gentle person underneath the exterior that is what attracted this woman and what she will be getting at home, hopefully. But can you extrapolate the other elements of his personality? That's what's going to be the big question.
Yeah, we'll definitely see. And I would like to go ahead and shout out Didgery Dave for this comment right here. She can't be too good at her job for that shit Strickland's been up to in his past year.
Yeah, good point. Absolutely. And shout out to Vladimir Depina.
That's actually Valdemir, buddy. Get it right. My
Valdemir.
guy is here, and he's the
Pardon.
man. So otherwise, I would like to say that was something that was the least interesting of the week, but we definitely had to take note that Sean Strickland will be wearing a wedding ring in his next fight. So next thing that we're going to get into is kind of the more goofy one. This one is very goofy because why did this happen? It's another clip. This one's a little longer, but we definitely don't have to watch all of it because it's kind of stupid. But I think I don't know what to think. So let's just go ahead and watch it.
All right. Okay. Yes.
Hey, buddy. How are you?
I'm great. An absolute pleasure, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, the man, the myth, the legend. So amazing to meet you and to be able to do this with you. This is a first for me too, but I'm very excited for this.
All right, here we go. Me too.
Oh man, as you know, of course, I fight in the UFC. I live and breathe this sport. My whole life is revolved around this sport.
Hold on a second. Holy shit! I didn't know it was you. I thought for a second. Wait, is that the champ? Wait, what? Oh, okay. No one told me.
I didn't care until you were somebody important. Oh, fuck.
No, I was like, God damn, he looks just like the. And then it's like, shit.
Yeah, well, this is.
Oh, brother, hey, it's great to see you and talk with you, man. You've done such a tremendous job, man. All of your fights. Hey, buddy, how are you?
So yeah, that's all that clip was. Yeah.
So why is Dricus doing the interview in the first place? Who is this for? And I don't understand the dynamics of this. That is certainly funny in and of itself, that little clip, but like this whole setup is odd to me.
I would like to remind you that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson has a history with African fighters. Tembo Garimbo is one of his favorites, and if you didn't know, Dricus du Plessis is South African. So I don't know who's been setting up The Rock with all these, these African athletes for him to just come in contact with. It's actually quite funny. If you go back to the premiere of the Smashing Machine, and he actually took a picture with the fucking German Patty dude, it's like, who's doing the promotion for this shit? Like, why is Dricus here taking the interview? He doesn't even know what he's doing. Like, this is one of the worst. He's bumbling through this. Like, oof.
Yeah, it's just strange. I want to know all of like why this came to be more than anything else. And what are they? I mean, what is the point of this interview about the Smashing Machine? Is that what they're talking about?
I have no idea what it's about or where this was. I mean, you could see the ring in the back of Dwayne. So he's on like doing like the little set, interview things, but like, where did Dricus come into play here? I don't know. I really don't know. But it was just really funny to see. One, we talked actually before stream because I was watching on YouTube some old reruns of WWE, and The Rock was on there, and like you look at him now compared to what he was, it's like the guy is just morphed into somebody that's completely different. I know he looks a little, actually, now he's slimmed down a little bit, so he looks a little bit less like a fucking hulking freak. But like, I don't know, something about this video, man. He's just kind of not looking great. Like, I don't know, hurtful.
Well, and what I had said, while we were off stream about it, is just that you would kind of said, oh, it's probably that The Rock is on PEDs. And I'm like, yeah, probably, please. Come on. The Rock is definitely on PEDs, whether he wants to admit it or not. But what this is that you go onto a cycle with the steroids, and then your body adjusts to it and you go off of it. And this is what you get as a deflation of the physique. We saw this with Gordon Ryan. I mean, Gordon Ryan was massive. And then when he got off of his cycle, he looked like a night and day difference.
I mean, this is a classic pro wrestling, deflation. You see this with
Right.
all of the older guys who were just muscle bound freaks built on roids. I mean, look at Lex Luger. I mean, this guy is wilted away as a human. I mean, he's basically a skeleton at this point. And shout out to him, he's actually doing a lot better, walking and stuff. But like that should just show you how bad it can get. Is it could literally just cripple you. Your body just eats away at itself. So it sucks to see. Like this is literally how all my heroes go out, and it's unfortunate. But like I don't know what this interview was about. Back to the point. This was just interesting and weird. So
yeah, very strange. I did want to bring this up. Hydra coming in again here saying, am I just a hater? Does everyone, does The Rock just inherently annoy other people? I know people feel that way. That's why I wanted to bring up. I was curious your thoughts on that, Chase, especially considering you're a pro wrestling fan. So you probably have a little bit more of a different nuanced take than maybe the average person who's not as into that sport. But for me, I've never disliked The Rock. I've always kind of, I think, inherently understood what he's trying to accomplish with his acting and all that kind of stuff. Like he just, he like until the Smashing Machine, he really like he serves a purpose. You know what I mean? Like he's an action star, or was at the, with the Fast and the Furious and all of that. Like he plays that role. I think that he's a passable enough actor for that to be okay. And if you take him with that as the understanding, then I've never had a negative thought about him. So I was curious what your thoughts are.
I've never been the biggest Rock fan. He was outside of my era growing up on wrestling. Like he was there, but he wasn't the person that I fucking watched. He wasn't saving pro wrestling to me. And when I see him now and I hear everybody talk about like, The Rock's awesome. Everybody loves him. Like I, for some reason, am skeptical to believe that everybody on this fucking planet loves him. I think everybody might just be afraid, to be honest. Like, yeah, he kind of doesn't really, I don't know, give me the time of day. Like when you watch this interview, he's sitting there and he's just like waiting for the fucking interview to be over. And then he's like, champ, I'm champ here. He's like, oh shit. Oh, he's actually important. I should probably maybe talk to him a little bit. Like, I don't know. He always gives me the impression of somebody that doesn't give a shit until like he should probably give a shit about you. I don't know.
Yeah, perhaps. I mean, yeah, I don't know enough of like his candid personality stuff, like when it comes to that kind of thing. I would say that like he's I think that really what's been going on lately is that people have been having a little bit of Rock fatigue is what it feels like. I mean, I think that for the longest time when he was in all of these films that he got a little oversaturated, and that because of that now, especially with the Smashing Machine, I think a lot of people were like, oh, and now he's trying to do the serious thing. It's like, I think that they're pushing back on that a little bit as well. So like, I think that maybe it's just like the cult of personality sort of got chipped away. And plus, I have also seen the YouTube videos about how he kind of lies about certain things. Like, I don't know if you're familiar with the In-N-Out Burger incident with the Rock. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Okay, so I'll just real quick, I know this is a little bit of an aside, but it does play a factor here. The Rock, for some reason that no one seems to know, he makes a point to eat. Like he films like reels, like short videos of himself eating In-N-Out Burger. Like that's his like cheat meal. He'll have a I've been working out all week, I'm gonna have myself a nice In-N-Out Burger. But then he lies about like having it for the first time, and it's like verifiably false. So like it's just an odd thing that it's like everybody's kind of like, I say an incident. It's not really an incident, but it's more of like it's just an odd like lie that he got caught in for no reason. Everybody is like off the like kind of saying that like that it's like, why would you do that? Like it's just an odd thing for you to lie about that's verifiably false, but you are consistently lying about it. So why? So it's like it's just weird little things that people pick up on with that kind of contribute to him not being a like beloved figure. Because also, I don't know if you recall, there's another thing that I had heard about in the past. There was a time when people were saying The Rock should run for president of the United States.
Yeah, I don't doubt that. Pro wrestling has a big reach. I'll tell you that. So that's not a great look on our end, but I wouldn't have been one of those people. Because I don't know. Maybe I'm a worse judge of character than I lead to believe. But I would like to think that I just something just about him. Like he's just too liked by everybody. Does everything right apparently, and nobody seems to have an issue with him. But I don't know. Something's up there.
Well, and
That's just my
and
opinion.
this summarizes it pretty clearly here. My first time ever having a double animal style burger from In-N-Out for the 8th time that year for 4 years in a row. Exact. That's what that was. Is what I was trying to get at there. better said than I did there, Hydra. But yeah, it's weird things like that, and I think people pick up on that, and they're just starting to like kind of get a little bit over The Rock, you know?
Yeah, I love the next thing about Hydra. It's not even a sponsor post. He just does it. Question mark. Like,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
Exactly. So it's that those kinds of things. And then I do again, I do bring back the point that like him trying to go the serious acting route with the Smashing Machine. I think there are some people who had a negative reaction to that because another, you know, I have video concepts in my mind all the time, and it's just a matter of what I can actually get to. One that I was thinking about possibly doing, and maybe you and I do it together even, is I was thinking about doing a video of like why the Smashing Machine failed. We briefly touched on it on the podcast, but The Smashing Machine is a $50 million film that only made $6 million at the box office in opening weekend. That's essentially a flop. I mean, and that's an unfortunate thing to say, but like I was kind of thinking in my mind, like what are the actual contributing factors to that? Because both of us said it's a good movie. It's not the greatest movie, but it's a good enough movie. So why is that? I think that partially The Rock being who he is kind of in a roundabout way somewhat contributed to that.
yeah, I think Hydra actually just brought up all the contributing factors. That whack ass rap song, the In-N-Out Burger stuff, fake weights, and denies taking steroids. So, I mean, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so you know, hitting all the points. Obviously, Hydra has a pretty strong opinion about him, and he's kind of
yeah.
making the points for us. So, yeah, it's just an interesting deal with The Rock. Again, don't know all of the details of this specific interview, but it is funny. And yeah, you know, being that The Rock, another thing that I know people don't like about him was at one point he was on the JRE, you know, Joe Rogan's podcast, and had said that at one time he was possibly going to go into MMA. Like he was during Pride era thinking about possibly going over and taking a fight in Pride, and then I guess wrestling happened for him and he was able to not do that. But like people were saying, oh, you know, he's trying to like tread a little bit too closely to MMA for their liking. And now him not knowing Drekus is like a little bit of a fraud. And actually, this also leads in. I don't think that we have this in the notes necessarily, but this leads into if the Rock as a wrestler, not as big of an MMA fan as he might have been trying to lead on. You saw Raven, who is a former wrestler, who is a huge MMA fan. So perhaps Raven should have played Mark Kerr.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. No, I don't think this was part of The Rock not like realizing it was Drekus. I also would have not like Drekus does just like look like a normal fucking guy. Like especially right here, you just see his head and his shoulders, and then he's interviewing you for a movie. I don't think The Rock should be like crucified for not knowing this is Drekus Duplessis. I would look at him for a second and be like, there's no fucking way. Like, why would he be interviewing me? Like, no fucking way. I would look stupid if I'd be like, "Are you the UFC champ?" Like, interviewing me for a movie.
That's what I think he should have just gone with it. I think he should have just been like, let Drekus finish the sentence and then been like, oh, yeah, of course, Drekus. You know, yeah, obviously, as a champion of the world. You know what I mean? Like, just kind of been like keyed into it and then like just gone on like nothing happened.
I think, you know, Hydra's just, I think Hydra's getting to the, he's getting, what I'm getting from Hydra is he's giving the vibes of just like what Hulk Hogan eventually just ended up being. You know, rest in peace to Hulk Hogan, of course, but like towards the end of his life, you know, the stories that he would tell were insanely over exaggerated and things that just didn't happen. You know,
Yeah,
and
notorious liar, Hulk
right,
Hogan.
and you know whether that was a case of you know getting old and dementia, or he was over exaggerating or hyperboles, whatever the case may be. You know, we're playing. You know, whatever. I think that's also something that The Rock is going to suffer through. You know, like he's going to talk about the movies that he did for Walking Tall, and he's you know, and I agree, like underrated performances, but he's going to talk about that like. I should have been winning Oscars ever since I started acting. And I did these action movies and I made billions of dollars. And then I got into the Smashing Machine. And then I finally got my stardom. Like they finally noticed that I was a good actor. Like I think there's going to be a lot of vindication, I think, from The Rock. Like, I don't know. That's the way I see the latter years of him coming. I don't know. I just always read that from him. He seems like a dude that's going to make it known that he did this shit. I don't know.
Perhaps he what I've always thought about him, not in a really negative way, but I have always acknowledged that he is very much a product. He's not the Rock. He's not as much of a person as he is an idea, almost to me. Where it's like he's an actor, he's a former wrestler, he is this thing that you slot into these things. He's manicured, he is media trained, all of the things that you know about the forward facing person, and because of that, there might not be as much of a real person underneath anymore.
I think Hydra, again, he's cooking right now. This last point that we're going to go with, and then we're going to move on.
Sure.
The internet and archiving has done irreparable damage to old men's fun stories.
Facts, bro. Definite facts. Yeah, everything being fact checked is like, no one can have their fishtails anymore,
Literally no fun in this world. You'll never hear a story about flipping a bird and flipping it upside down and landing them in a field. Whatever you want to say, some old man had a story for everything, and I loved to hear them. But now everybody's got fucking Google AI that says, is this old man's story real? And they say it's not even possible for him to jump off the Eiffel Tower. It's like, dude, I heard him. I literally heard him do it. So whatever. Anyway.
Well, I guess now you got to actually go out and do those things, right?
And speaking of going out and doing those things, this is the perfect segue to this next segment, right?
All right, hit me.
Going out and doing things is what the UFC finally did, and that is getting rid of the Tafa brother. And so here we are. The UFC has finally released Justin Tafa. Actually, key to note, Junior Tafa is still under contract, so we still got one to go. But either way,
I mean, you're also selling it a little incorrect.
Yes.
They didn't release him; he decided to retire. But I mean, either way, exactly. What do you think about this? It's like, yeah, I mean, the Tafa brothers have been, I would say, underwhelming is a polite way to put it. And both of them having different versions of reasons for not wanting to compete at times, and then going in and competing and not doing very well. So yeah, Justin Tafa deciding that he's going to, take a little time away from the sport. He's did leave the door open. It's not like he says that he's going to not fight forever, but he's basically taken some time away. I guess he had surgery recently. He's got a family that he's trying to raise, et cetera, et cetera. It is an unceremonious exit from the sport, but an exit nonetheless.
Yeah, no, I was definitely having a little fun. I like the Tafa brothers. They're definitely fun. Like, they're obviously the personalities that come from Australia. And they're heavyweights that fill out the roster. They're not necessarily the best. They never are going to be the best. I have plenty of different complaints for them individually that I can go into, but the fact that he's stepping away to get his mind right, I'd rather you do that than go out there and fight like Anthony Smith and fight through the depression or whatever's going on. So
yeah, well, really, for both of the Tafa brothers and Taito Ivasa, I kind of lump all three of those into the same sort of camp. They had gotten figured out, is what it really felt like to me. And you saw time and time again fighters who knew exactly what they needed to do against them and did exactly that. And the outcome was always in their favor. So really, I think that having an understanding of that, and kind of look, you frame it however you want to frame it. If it's for your family, you want to take some time away, blah blah blah, all the stuff that he said in his statement, have that as your forward facing deal there. But in the back of your mind, I think that there has to be an understanding that you got in this sport,
Yeah, I definitely agree with that one. And this is one that I don't necessarily have too much to say on, like the other ones. I just wanted to go ahead and note it. Something that happened this week. We don't get too many roster updates from the actual bot channel itself on Twitter. And the actual roster watch channel that's a person is a fucking lunatic. So
Yes,
we don't
yeah.
really have much roster updates as we once did earlier in the year. So having things like this, they do keep us in touch, and having the show that we can go ahead and just get it out the air and understand together. Go ahead.
And yeah, and first of all, shout out to Ija coming in here, Ija. But I did want to bring this up because going back to a story we covered earlier here, Tafa broke his heart. He's definitely going to be muscle for a gang. Sad to say, one of the elements that I covered in the Suman Mokhtarian case is, if you recall, Walter Walker had an incident after he fought him. Actually, I believe. I think it was Justin. Might have been Junior, but either way, one of the Tafa brothers. It was it was the one with the heel hook where he cried out verbally, and that.
Oh, Junior. Yeah,
it was. I think it was Junior. Yeah, you're right. But so after that, 30 bikers showed up at the hotel, to the point where the Walker brothers had to hightail it out of Australia. So there is a speculation on the ground level that perhaps the Tafa brothers may be somewhat caught up.
Yeah,
just a rumor. Just a rumor.
Well, I mean, not even if they're caught up now. I mean, Ja's just making a great point. I mean, there's an option for him. There's a door right there for him to just go get some money doing probably not jack shit for a little bit, just hanging out, looking tough. So whether the case means he has to do much, hop on a motorcycle and ride around, I don't know. But the fact that that's a common, just like, well, I guess he's just going to go be in a gang. It's like, isn't that unfortunate? Like when you're in America and you see people who don't have much going for them, and they might be from a certain demographic, you would rightfully assume, well, they're going to drugs, they're going to go do this, they're going to go to prison. The fact that the pinpoint idea for somebody who just retired from the UFC is like, I guess he's going to go be in a gang. Like that just sucks, you know? So,
Well, I mean, I think that the idea would be that there might have already been connections there.
well, you know,
Look, and I don't know it to be factual. All I'm saying is that, you know, it certainly is the case that Johnny Walker was talking about that being an incident that
Walter.
well, it was Walter in the fight, but Johnny was the one actually like doing
Okay,
the interview
okay.
that I'm talking about. But so, yeah, I mean, regardless, it's something that is of note. So hopefully he's somebody who can leave that behind, and maybe it's just a friend of a friend thing is what I kind of thought that might be
Yeah,
the case.
friend of a brother thing, you know.
Sure. Yeah,
But
exactly. You know, people who know people.
yeah. So what I will, he will be doing standovers and kidnappings. Well, all right.
God, I
Well,
hope not.
now here we go. Anyway, so the last thing that I wanted to get into, because this is the show that I have been hosting. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but Chase has been doing the damn thing today. And so
Appreciate
the
it.
last thing I wanted to bring up, because it's close to my heart when it comes to this this sport respectively, we get to go into our last pro wrestling thing for the week, and that is Mr. Raha Jackson pleading not guilty to the charges.
Brother.
The funniest thing that I saw about this one is there was just a tweet that says Raha pleaded not guilty. Brother, you are guilty. And it was like the video of him it was the video again. It's like you see it again and it's like there's just no fucking chance, bro. Like your plead should have been insanity. Like I don't know, bro, cuz you looked pretty damn crazy after the fact. So
Well, maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's not guilty by way of insanity. Because I mean, that when I heard this, I doubled over in laughter. I think I really did bust out laughing when I saw the headline that he is pleading not guilty to the charges. When all of us, you're seeing the still image of it right there on screen. We all, every single person who knows about this case, every single person on the planet, because of how widely covered this case was, knows exactly what went down that day. So, I mean, where is there any room in any stretch of the imagination to think that this dude is going to plead not guilty and potentially get off?
Yeah, I don't know what to like. This is one, and if you guys think back to a time not too long ago, this was probably during COVID, I believe, or maybe a little before or after. There was a court case that was publicly shown. There was video clips on YouTube, and it was on the news. Really, there was a Amber Heard and Johnny Depp trial that we got to see all of the evidence, all of the talking points. We got to see every breakdown and we got to make our own opinions. Not just the court making their the judge's decision, of course, but like we as the audience, we knew in the back of our mind if the judge fucks up, I mean, we're seeing everything. We know what the true story is. We know who to believe, yada yada yada. This is another one where I think we need full access to what is happening. I know that there's not much more behind the scenes that we need to see, but like I'm just curious how they're going to do it. Like what would they possibly put on the bulletin board and say, there's the reason it ain't true. I can't tell you why, but that right there is why he ain't going to prison.
Roll the clip, Judge. You know, but yeah, no. I have said that if there is any public display, any live stream of this trial, I will be on for the entirety of it. So if that is publicly available in any capacity, keep your eyes on the Yama channel. Chase, you're more than welcome to join me for that. I'm going to be glued to this trial if it's available.
I think that is one of the most powerful things that I've seen happen as a community when it came to famous people. It's like, yeah, we don't really care too much about them, but obviously we glue in when it's something important. But like the fact that it was real life events and you got to just see how people try to manipulate situations and they try to get the upper hand on the judicial system. And one, it didn't work. And two, you can see just how far people will go. And what you will also find, and this is key to note specifically with this case, you can always find a lawyer to defend the person losing. And they will try it. They will try. And honestly, they are there to work. Like, that is their job, is to defend the person across from them. Sometimes it's somebody who's appointed to them. It's not even that they chose to be there because they got paid. They get appointed to them because they want to be a lawyer and they're a student lawyer, so they got to go represent somebody random. I think, it's important to know, like, these guys, they're trying their best to make it work. They may know in the back of their mind, yeah, that dude's fucking guilty, but my job, specifically my duty, is to make it as if he's not. I am supposed to know that he's not. I have the evidence, and how can I make it look like it's not? It's not that the evidence is going to tell me that he's not. It's how do I frame it in a way that it's not. And it's crazy, and that's why I think having these videos and recorded live is so important, because we're going to see just how, if they try to spin this on the promotion or Psycho Stu somehow, like, that's going to be so interesting to know, and how they do it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, that is your right as an American citizen, your right to representation. So he will have representation. I mean, I'm sure that there's going to be a good amount of resources put into that representation for him. Really, you talk about the skirting of the legal system before this, or getting one over on the system. I mean, I think a lot of people, myself included, feel like he already kind of did that to an extent by the fact that he was not charged for a month until after the incident was took place. So I mean, there's that aspect of it. The other part is the fact that his charges are not exactly as high as some people would say that they should be. I mean, he's getting charged with, I believe, aggravated battery and aggravated assault, two separate charges for the same incident. But the total of the time that would be attached to that is 7 years for like the maximum penalty. Now, of course, he is not this is a first time offense for him, so he's not a repeat offender.
That you know of.
That I know of. That's a good point. I do not know for a fact that that's the case. I would suspect, though, that he does not have a criminal record up until this point. So if I'm wrong about that, then perhaps somebody needs to enlighten me on that one. But the case being, I mean, like, we saw what a lot of people were considering an attempted murder here. 7 years to a lot of people. Originally, it was reported that it was 4 years. So I mean, that seemed like a very small amounts of time. 7 years to a lot of people still seems like a small amount of time.
Yeah, this one, it's crazy situation that we witnessed happen, but time will tell, and we're gonna start to see the situation unravel. The thing about it, unfortunately, is that court systems take a really long time. We are gonna see this drawn out for the next 2 years, and before we figure out what the resolution is, and in reality, it's not going to be much. Aggravated assault, aggravated battery for a dude that's probably going to get a good lawyer that's going to pay pretty good money on bond or whatever. He's going to get an ankle monitor, and he's going to get 18 months. He's going to get literally what Conor McGregor got. So I don't know. That's just my opinion. But I think that was just the last thing I wanted to bring up this week. I know this might be a continuous update type of thing for our Friday fun times. And I'm cool with that, because it definitely is something that needs to be known. Like, you cannot fucking do this. Like, you will go to prison, bro. So
I mean, it remains to be seen. We'll find out if he's going to go to prison or not. I actually did want to highlight Didgeridoo Dave's comment here, saying that psychological abuse could be part of his defense. I mean, on the live stream that I did, which was the follow-up to the original video that I had made about the subject, kind of going into some of the possible motivations, I did say that, psychological abuse was definitely apparent with him. That does not justify anything that he did, of course, but if you were looking for some of the underlying causality, there might be a link there, perhaps. So it will be very interesting to see if that comes up in the court, because, like you said, I mean, these whoever his lawyer is, regardless of the level of ability that lawyer has, the quality level of that legal defense, they have to formulate some type of defense, period. When you have something as cut and dry as this, it's going to be interesting to see how they decide to go about formulating that. And I would think that that's probably one of the stronger cases that they can make.
I think where was it at? Let me see. Oh yeah, so the defense lawyer, Hydra, put a good comment. I mean, the defense lawyer is gonna have to watch that video so many times. He's gonna know more than anyone how guilty he is. The key about that is yes, it's true, because he's gonna have to, but he's gonna know just how guilty he is, but he's also gonna have to know what points that they're gonna use specifically to pinpoint why he's guilty. That's gonna be what's key. He's gonna have to notice, like, okay, that's the reason right there you're guilty. How do I get you out of it? Like that. And that's just all we're going to be able to see what goes on. And it's not a fun process. And that's why I think I think having the video recordings, and I think having this stream live is very key too, because when you have professional athletes, these are larger than life figures in a sense, especially when it comes to professional fighters. In courtrooms, specifically in America too, we have a lot of intimidation tactics and shit that goes on. Like I want to be able to make sure that there's no witnesses out there holding their tongue for what Raha Jackson has done, because he's over there standing there giving a mean mug. But I don't know. Like I'm not here to say, but I just think there's a lot of interesting things that go into a courtroom situation. And I think putting Raha Jackson in the courtroom is the best thing that's going to happen in this situation. And it's finally happening. So,
yeah. I mean, it is very surprising that he decided to go this route. I don't know what the motivation for that specifically is. I mean, I guess that there's some legal representatives saying that maybe that some of these arguments that we're talking about might be a method to getting his sentence reduced, perhaps, because it would just seem that there's no two ways about anything when it comes to him. Well, obviously not. We know this foregone conclusion that he is guilty, but it does not seem that there is any furtherance of a manipulation of the situation that's going to get a better outcome for him, which is why I'm surprised that he decided to plead not guilty. But if maybe there are things that we don't know about, and when it comes to the way that we have seen the legal system operating lately, you've got people like Young Thug, you've got people like Sean Diddy Combs, who have committed really atrocious acts and have gotten off relatively light if they're serving any time at all. So when it comes to someone like Raja, who is like I said, presumably not a repeat offender, someone who's a first-time offender, young person as well, he's 25 years old, extenuating circumstances. Didgeridoo Dave brought up another good point, about the fact that his mother was also murdered. These are the things that could be building at least a plea to a jury to say, look, you saw the video, I saw the video, everybody knows what happened, but I put it upon you to think of the factors that brought this young man to where he ultimately ended up, and that's what their idea is here.
We're gonna have to find out. This one,
yeah.
I'm really hoping that because I don't know who would be able to benefit from this other than the audience, other than the community, the population who actually cared about this. But I will tell you that this was a moment that people cared about. We stopped to watch the video. Everybody watched it multiple times. Everybody watched the videos before, the context after, the situations with Rampage, the Neon streams, the Sneeko streams, anything you want to say. People watch those. Whoever is able to profit off of running the YouTube channel that streams this courtroom case, if you don't understand the assignment as of right now that we want to see it, you are missing out big time.
For sure. Yeah. And as I said, if there is any public displays of any of this will be covered in their entirety on this channel, and I promise you that. Also did want to mention, I have no smoke nor want any beef with Young Thug or YSL. So just putting that out
after you, dude.
Yeah, for never that. I'm cool. I got much love for all of Young Slime life there.
Well, I actually didn't even want to bring it up, but now you want to bring it up kind of in this sense. I mean, dude, you made that video on the Australian gangs. I mean, you might want to just watch out going to Perth. I don't know.
It's a good point. I trust that that's not something that I take lightly. I mean, on a really more serious tip, I had talked to, I tried very hard to make sure that I kept all of the sources anonymous for that. And look, what I say to that is if you are, what I tried to do in that video is present factual information. And if you're going to I didn't name any specific gang that I have any kind of like individual problem with. If your beef with me is that gang life is bad in and of itself, I would think that that's a sentiment that is shared by a lot of the population. So, coming after me is not going to change the perception of gang culture. So that's all I can really say about that. But I mean, trust that is something that I think about a lot when it comes to the coverage of all of this sport. I mean, plenty of people have plenty of opinions about, their portrayals when it comes to people like myself who comment on this stuff. And what I would say in the big picture is that if you don't want a negative representation, I never go out of my way to negatively represent anyone if there's not a legitimate purpose behind it. That's always, at least I want to hope so. You can have your opinions about it, but there always has to be some sort of inciting incident for me to cover you at all. And I also try to cover good people on the, I talk about Matt Hamill being able to hear not too long ago. That's a great thing. So, I try to be fair with my coverage of this stuff. If it's stuff that is negative to you, then maybe you should look a little bit more inward, I would say.
Yeah, I hear that. So if you're out there listening and you are part of any said gangs that are in Sydney, in Western Australia, wherever you want to say, Thinker is thinking positively of you until he finds out the things that you've done wrong in this world. So just keep it anonymous and just make sure everybody knows that you're the good kid out in Australia, and we're cool.
Absolutely. Look, if you're not committing crimes, you can wear different colors. You know what I'm saying? You can because actually one of the comments in that video, somebody who was saying that they, I think were from Australia and have relatives that are in biker gang, the bikies they're called down there. He's saying that they got lumped in unfairly because they're law-abiding citizens. And I was like, look, being a member of a motorcycle club in and of itself is not an illegal thing. If you're not doing anything illegal, then there's nothing to there. It's a non-issue.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
Just be on the up and up, and we're all good, man. I got love for everybody.
Yeah, 100%. But I think, out of all the things that we shared today, I think that is all that I wanted to bring up for this week's recap of everything that I think was worth talking about. Was there anything that you think I missed or anything that you want to touch on real last quick before we get going? I mean,
the only thing that I saw in the chat that we did not touch on was when we were talking about Sean Strickland, somebody did mention that Ilya Taporia is apparently splitting up from his wife. So that's another little piece of information that came out recently. I did think it was rather funny that Ilya Taporia was down there with the Nelk boys, and the Nelk boys telling him that you should not be meeting your wife in Miami. And now he's in the situation that he is in. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, but that is a fact of something that happened.
I mean, again, with the same with the Sean Strickland thing, I could care less. I mean, who cares? Married, divorced, not really the biggest thing. But it is funny that they told him that no, don't go marry a big booty Latino girl down in fucking Miami, and he went and did it probably. So
it's a
poison.
Called
karma, man.
It's a poison that is too strong to resist sometimes. Hydra knows about that.
Yep. And actually, speaking of Hydra, he brought up a really good point too.
Oh,
also,
gosh.
the name change for Charles Oliveira, the Predator. But what's actually funny, somebody on Twitter said that this was just like a promotion for like a movie or something in Brazil. Like it's not actually like him doing something. It was just like just a little advertisement.
Do we know what the movie is?
I don't know. Maybe it was a music video or something. It was something of that sort. It was like, no, it's just like a promotion for such and such.
Okay. Because I hope that is all the case, because that is a terrible nickname.
So yeah, the Predator. No, another good thing that I sent in the chat, but we didn't actually bring it up here because it was just Aljamain Sterling tweeting randomly, and he posted pictures of him shaving his beard into, he had a mustache and then he had like a goatee or whatever, and he said something along the lines of like, things are looking different here on the movie set or something like that.
Yes,
so
you did say that.
A movie with Aljamain Sterling is in production of some sort. That means we are going to be rich here.
Oh my God, MMA on film never ends, and trust we've got plenty coming in that regard as well. So we are pretty well locked into what our next MMA on film assignment is going to be, and we are figuring out scheduling wise when that's going to happen. So keep an eye on the channel for the next installment of that, and for Aljamain Sterling's film when it comes out. We still got to find out what film Shara Bullet was in as the villain.
Oh yeah, the UPS man in the movie that he was. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, no, that's a really good one. I mean, we've had really good options for some movies to go ahead and check out that have some UFC alum in them. Bloom has sent us one that had Anderson Silva in it. I believe it was. That kind of looked like fucking Tokyo Drift or something by the poster. I don't know. But if you are here listening to the stream right now, one last time, go ahead, but also leave a comment and let us know if there's any movie that features some sort of mixed martial arts or has anything to do with a tournament style martial arts combat, UFC cage fighting, any sort of brawl, underground fighting, anything like that. Let us know what it is, and we eventually are going to get to it, and we're going to talk about it probably for more than the runtime of the film itself. So please keep that in mind. If you like the movie, you could have plenty of us talking about it if it's bad enough. Just keep that in mind.
If it's good enough too, we're equal opportunity in that regard. But yes, anything MMA related, if it is on a film, we are certainly down to watch it, and we've got plenty in the pipeline already in that regard. There is so much MMA on film out there just waiting for us. So
100%.
Good deal. I mean, I would say that pretty much does it for any of the stuff that I wanted to talk about this week. I mean, we hit all of the major points. If there's any other things that we missed, let us know in the comments. You know, we'll bring it up on the next stream. Of course, we will both be live tomorrow night for UFC Rio. So come back and we'll be on our individual watch alongs for that. I will be at youtube.com/@YamaShow with the Vitz King. And Chase, where will you be?
You guys can find me doing the UFC stream thing tomorrow. And I don't know if you guys knew, this morning we did a one stream that was really fun. So next Friday, go ahead and check that one out on youtube.com/@CPSmalls. And then, of course, Saturday night's UFC goes down, and we will be watching that. Tuesday's Contender Series. I think this is the last week coming up. So be ready to get that last episode with me.
Absolutely. And yeah, make sure that you're tuning into those one streams with Chase, because they are free on YouTube to watch. And those fights are often very entertaining, and, you know, hanging out with Chase for him. I try to catch him as much as I can, timing wise, unfortunate with it being in the morning. But either way, if you are around on a Friday morning, you get some good fights and you get to hang out with the homies. So definitely be doing that. Make sure that you're following on Instagram and on Twitter. I am at Yama Show on both of those places, and on Facebook now as well at Yama Show. So all of those platforms at Yama Show. We are locked in. Make sure that you're following everywhere, and we will come back with some more good stuff for you soon. So thank you very much for hanging out with us for this tonight, and we will see you tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
Indeed. Fight on.
Everybody have a great one.
All right. See ya.
Game.